Hello, I'm Jay Rinkins with MIG. Our firm is helping the city in assessing the future of the Clear Creek Corridor through Golden. And a big piece of that is thinking about the facilities, civic facilities in particular, both that the city has as well as some of its partners, both existing and new, and the future of the site where we're standing right now, which is a big piece of that, which is the property that was acquired by the city last year. So just as important as those buildings are, though, are all the spaces in between. So what type of open spaces are we creating along the creek, along the street frontages, as well as are we creating spaces to accommodate events, community gatherings, so on and so forth. So we have three high-level concepts here, and the first concept is really focusing or spreading some of the key facilities throughout the corridor. And it still creates a pretty large green space, kind of central to the corridor, where we have City Hall and the library today. But then it has new facilities speckled throughout. There is a large concentration down here at the east end of the corridor that would be complemented by a large plaza and a large amphitheater. The second concept doesn't spread the facilities as much throughout the corridor. So there is a little smaller footprint of the open space here, but you can see it shifts to the west a little bit. And then our final concept down here, concept 3, again, spreads the facilities throughout the corridor, and it creates a series of smaller green spaces along Clear Creek rather than one large green space. If you go to Guiding Golden, you'll actually be able to say generally which of these configurations make the most sense to you, but then also you can fine tune that. You can say, I like option 1 or concept 1 generally, but I really think, the library should be on the other side of the nature play area, or that this green space should be larger, or we should think about a different connection between Parfit Park and the new green spaces we're creating down here. So this board is actually doing a deep dive on the actual position of buildings, orientation of those buildings, and then the remaining spaces that are created as a result. So that's plaza spaces, landscaped areas, and the open space along the creek. So concept 1, 2, and 3 all have different orientations of the buildings. They kind of move the pieces around, which result in this kind of big yellow area being the resulting plaza space that would connect those spaces. So we have a diagonal plaza in concept 1, an L-shaped plaza with a parking garage flanking it in option 2, and then concept 3 actually has this sort of oddly shaped plaza, but actually creates a lot of interesting connections over to Archer, potentially to 10th Street, and potential redevelopment to the west. The bottom half of the board is actually talking about other uses that might be complementary to the civic uses. And we've heard a lot of different things through the process so far, all the way back to the visioning, about really thinking that a small amount of retail, housing, maybe affordable housing should be part of the mix, and other people feeling really strongly that it shouldn't be. So we'd love to hear some more information on that. We're breaking it into 3 different options for the housing and for the retail. For the housing, could it be incorporated into the site right along the creek with some of the civic uses? What are some opportunities for that? It would probably have to be mixed-use development of some sort. The second would be the surplus properties. So those would be examples would be this, like north of the Masonic Temple, or maybe over near where the future RTD station would go if it were extended this far. And then similarly, similarly, retail is asking the same 2 questions, but there is an option to say you do not think housing or retail should be incorporated in this overall concept at all. So definitely have those options. And then if you do have specific locations, you can actually identify those as well with dots on the map.
Go ahead and put your dot there. That's why we're doing it.
Nice job. You got the overview. So this board is really talking about this east end and a focus on what happens when this building goes away that we're standing in front of. Right now we have one large building surrounded by a lot of large parking lots. And what we'd like to do is think about how could multiple facilities, civic facilities in particular, lay across the site. And in doing so, this is the existing condition in this upper right. So one big building, lots of surface parking lots around. Not a lot of connection between the different spaces. And so a lot of people know the building was acquired by the city, but there is quite a bit of land around it. So how do we use that most effectively? And what are the impacts of putting a lot of facilities down on this end to preserve open space in the middle? So there's some trade-offs that we're exploring. One of those is simply the number of buildings. So this is concept 3 that's blown up here. We have concept 1, concept 2. But also the height of the buildings, and then beginning to think about the views. So this isn't meant to convey architecture at all. This is just if we were to use the buildings to accommodate the civic uses, how much space would that take up? So we call these bulk and massing diagrams. So could there be a chamfered corner? Could there be nice glass? Things like that, of course. But this begins to show how it begins to impact the landscape, the different concepts. So from left to right, we have the existing concept with concept 1, 2, and 3. Those align top to bottom, as well as align with concepts 1, 2, and 3 up here on the top of the board.